production problems before, Ryan. You're right.
Well, when you bring in fresh blood.
Right. Can we degrade him? You're a duke. You're
no longer a prince. No, he's not going to sign up on that. Yeah, he'll leave.
Shit.
Do you know how much crap I've got to turn around and unplug and replug in if he leaves? Yeah. We're screwed.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Precisely.
Nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh. A little bit inside baseball there.
We're still recording?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great content.
Yeah.
Great content.
And it's all staying in. Hello and welcome.
Welcome
to it. You see, you're trying, and I appreciate that because you're keeping that athletic advantage.
You told me this one.
No, I am going to continue to tell you. If you want to say anything to the people, that right there is your camera. Say something to the people.
Hello, people.
See? And we've done it. Okay, so yes, the prince is back with us. Yes, he's making the switches, playing the dance hall horns, all the good stuff.
All right.
It's 2025, Uncle Bob.
Yes, we made it back.
We made it back. We finally made it back. Today's topic is we're going to talk about difficulty in video games. So I'm just going to lay the table with that right now. But before we get into that, I do want to completely just throw this out at you without any sort of prep. Predictions.
Oh, God.
I know. That's why I did this. So in 2024, we predicted two things. Well, we predicted, I'll just pick on the two things because we were both as wrong as you could possibly be.
I'm starting to sweat.
You should. Well, I'm starting to sweat because I'm fat. But anywho, went back, did my due diligence, and watched that episode, and it's so cute. We're a couple of babes in the woods, you and I.
Yeah.
I'll beat myself up first before we turn the tables around on you. But for me, I predicted with all the confidence in the world that the Nintendo Switch 2 would be out that year, and of course, it is not.
So you're not going to be wrong by much. It's going to be out probably in the first half of this year, we think, right?
I think it's
another prediction for 2025.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't go wrong.
I think the facts that are known currently about the Switch 2 that are confirmed is that it is backwards compatible with the old Switch, and that we will know about it officially before March 31 of 2025.
Yeah.
Those are the only facts. Everything else is just leaks from peripheral makers and just internet trollery at its finest, that kind of shit.
And I've seen significant rumors that say they might announce it in January.
Yeah, that's now.
Which is now. Yeah.
We will see how that goes indeed. I do think that it's imminent. It's going to happen. But it would be really funny if it did now that I said that.
That would be a better wrong prediction than your last prediction. Your last prediction was going to come out in 2024. It didn't, but it's coming out in 2025.
Yeah.
If you said it was like Duke Nukem coming 1997 or whatever, and it comes out in 2009, that's a different beast.
That's a different beast entirely. Yeah. Or Half-Life 3, which is certainly still coming, obviously.
Going to be announced this year. That's a prediction.
Holy shit! Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's touch that button a couple times when we get to it. But Switch 2 absolutely did not come out this year. And what happened instead is that Nintendo just fleeced more money from children like me, selling me ports.
We.
Well, did you buy any of the double dip ports that came out?
What do you mean the double dip ports?
So Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door.
Yes,
you did. God damn it. What's the other? Luigi's Mansion 2, obviously you did.
Yes.
You played that online.
Yes.
That's what this year has been. The only original Nintendo game that came out in the entire year, I believe, Prince, correct me if I'm wrong.
2.
I'm thinking Princess Peach Showtime. What's the other one?
The Zelda game, the Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh shit, that was this year.
And there's a third game then, Brotherhood.
That's right. Yeah,
Brothership.
Brothership. Yeah. Brotherhood.
Brotherhood's a sweet band though.
Let's go on. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about Brotherhood, the hardcore band, for a real quick second. No, we're not going to do that. But we are going to talk about states' rights. Just kidding.
In fact, me being grifted by Nintendo is even worse than you because you actually at least play the games to get your money's worth. I just buy them and they go on a shelf like a collectible.
That's true. But for me, it's almost even more egregious with me, though, because I have played all of these games. And for you, they're all brand new.
Yeah.
And in the case of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, it's like best in class kind of a game. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
But anyway, let's beat me up a little bit about how I was wrong and why I was wrong. Well, the obvious, it didn't happen. Why? Without talking about what we all know is reality, is just they're getting as much milk out of that rock as they can possibly squeeze.
Yeah.
But
there's still some there, I guess.
Yeah. That's the thing that surprised me the most, honestly, is that I can't believe they were able to release. There's a lot of things we didn't know that was going to happen. Obviously, that new Zelda game wasn't even like a figment of anyone's imagination. And I guess maybe I should have thought more like this is conservative, like ultra frugal, miserly Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, of course they're going to do a minimum of one extra year on the Switch.
Well, do you remember when the OLED came out? And it came out, I think, towards the end of whatever year it was released in.
Yes, that's right.
And I bought it because at that point, I think my dock had stopped working with my regular Switch. And there were some rumors that within 12 months, they were going to announce the Switch 2.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, Nintendo, don't you dare have me buy an OLED and then give me a sequel console. And
a year later,
yeah, within a calendar year.
Yeah, that I never thought was going to happen ever.
And, well, it turns out you were right, because now there's been more calendar years since then, and we still didn't get the sequel. So now I'm very ready for a sequel.
So I bought my OLED last year, last October, November. And the reason why I had to is my launch Switch finally was like, it's not all the way dead, but it's on life support. And like I bought a fan and did all this stuff to like kind of keep it going, because I want to keep that Switch alive for legal reasons, for perfectly legal research-based reasons.
And as your attorney, I can totally confirm.
There you go.
It's only
so that's all done. That's out there now. When I bought that OLED, it was like, okay. And I think at the time I was still playing through Tears of the Kingdom. So it's like, I'm going to get a Switch. Like I'm going to buy a new Switch because I know for a whole year there's crap coming and I'm going to play that.
Yeah.
So me spending the $350 or whatever it was to get a full year's worth of stuff, like it was going to happen. So I did it, and that was that. But I was sweating it. Like I thought for sure that, because I predicted there was going to be another Switch, that I was going to be that fool, which I would have been, obviously. But it didn't happen that way. And I'm like, I guess part of me is grateful that like I spent $350 and it has a little bit more longevity.
So it's 18 months.
But I'm all like, I want a new Switch, obviously. Like, come on.
Well, we don't know what it's going to be, but I am ready for a new console that does what I hope in my mind the Switch 2 is going to do.
Well, in your mind, it's probably the same as my mind, and certainly the same as the Prince's mind. We just want another Switch. Like, do the exact same things, but
pretty much
work better. So Joy-Con drift, fix that, number one.
Yeah.
That's my number one. And then make the graphics a little nicer.
Yeah. So improved components, hardware components. And then a better online experience, and that would be.
You're not getting that. We know. We know that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, I was pretty sure that my prediction would come true, and of course it didn't. So now I'm going to turn the table right onto you.
It's really not fair.
It's funny though. It's a little funny.
So your prediction is not even going. Your prediction is technically wrong, just based on the calendar.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a Switch 2, so you're not. It's not really a mistake.
I would argue, in good faith, that there was never a case where Hellblade 2 was going to be the best of anything ever. And I have, if you go back and watch our episodes, that's been my presentation.
Okay, so my prediction was that Hellblade 2 would. Oh man, I can't. You got to say it. I can't say it.
So Uncle Bob did say early on, with great gusto and confidence, that Hellblade 2 would be the 2024 Game of the Year. And it did win an award. It won
a couple, actually.
Tell me the other ones. I only know about the sound.
I think it got Best Female Performance.
Okay.
For the voice acting.
All right.
And then best sound, and then there's a third one, and who cares? But it won 3 Game Awards, and I know how much the Game Awards mean to you because Jeff Keighley is
obviously he's out there congratulating Larian as we speak. Obviously.
Oh man! Congratulations, Larian. The one that he pulled off because they won Best Community Support, and I wasn't expecting anything because they won all the awards the year before.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I mean, I was there live, and I just was cackling to myself. It's like, well, you must really like Larian, Robert. No, I just like Jeff.
I just really like Jeff Keighley. Yeah. You know what? I beat him up a lot because of the show is stupid, and I don't like it, and I won't watch it again. However, to properly feather that man's cap, there is no more E3.
Yeah,
and so he is kind of him and his invention.
Yeah,
is E3 now, and that sucks because I am not a fan of what that whole thing is. But it doesn't suck in that at least. There's something where announcements get made and has attention and all that stuff.
Inventions, because Summer Games Fest has effectively replaced E3 for the summer announcements.
I thought that's an IGN thing. Or is that a Keighley thing?
It's a Keighley thing.
No.
And then the Game Awards is probably the biggest singular event in gaming now in December.
Yeah.
And especially this year's announcements were the biggest announcements ever at it. So I mean, it's a really.
You are not lying with that. Last year we watched the Game Awards together, and yeah, not for me. But the announcements that they did also, I mean, I can't remember, but I do remember walking away from it being like, well, that wasn't like all that much stuff that I cared about. This other one though was like, holy shit! It's like they fucking walked into my brain and said, hey, so remember how you're saying how you miss Virtua Fighter? Well, buddy. Well, buddy.
And again, I was thinking of you during some of those announcements because it felt like there was someone for everyone. If you're just the guy who checks into gaming every now and then for the big tentpole releases, like you got a new Naughty Dog game and you got a new Witcher game and you got a new Elden Ring game. But then if you're a fan of indies like me, they've showed gameplay footage of Slay the Spire 2, a game I'm really looking forward to.
You and a ton of other people.
Right.
I don't give a shit about that game, but I respect the fuck out of it because of how it's a gigantic thing.
Well, and it more or less created the asymmetric PvE card battler deck builder game. But then if you're somebody like you, there's all these games like, well, Virtua Fighter was an obvious one.
There was Virtua Fighter, like a bunch of Virtua Fighter announcements. There was
the Okami game.
All that Capcom stuff. Okami, a new Onimusha.
Those were the three I was thinking of you. I was like, Brian's going to love Onimusha. He's going to love the Okami announcement. Yep. He's going to love Virtua Fighter.
Absolutely right.
So you got that. And then even a game like I forgot his name, but the creator of Shadow of Colossus, they announced that weird
Ueda.
And nobody knows what that's going to be.
Have you played any of his games? Shadow of Colossus?
I'm actually literally going through Shadow of Colossus now because of that trailer.
The Prince knows, that game is
Shadow of Colossus. Ooh. I'm halfway through it, and it's as advertised.
Yeah, that game rules.
Yeah, the controls, it does feel a little dated a little bit with some of the controls now, and it's one of those, go watch our episode on...
Just look at all of them. Someone's going to get me.
I am the main character.
I got you on Robbie Cam now. Robbie Cam.
Someone... shit, I forgot what's going on. All these cameras are on me? Oh, goody. Give me the attention. Anyway, no, Shadow of Colossus has been great so far. Go watch our episode on timing. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because that game came out, didn't it come out in like 2020?
20 years ago.
Yeah.
2004.
I'm playing the remake of it, but even the remaster, but even that is now 7 or 8 years old, I think, right?
But you're doing it right, though. That remaster is an example. It's like the Psycho remake, where it's just like a shot-for-shot exact remake, but it just looks better.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it looks great.
Yeah.
And it plays great.
And it's awesome. And like the attack, like I don't want to spoil anything, but like it does something really effectively that no other game that I've ever played after or before ever did, in terms of like making me feel a certain way as a player. Kind of like, well, what did I just do for like the last 20 hours or whatever?
The sequel, not the sequel, but the other game that's available to me is The Last Guardian.
Yeah.
That's also by him. Should I be playing that?
So that game, here's the deal. I've never finished that game. I think it's pretty good. Real quick pro tip on if you do play that game. To any of you, buy the physical version of that game, because if you run it off the disc and don't install any updates, it's an uncapped frame rate. So you'll play that thing as fast as your PS5 is gonna go. If you update it, then there's a hard cap of 30 frames a second. So that's one thing I'll say. And I don't remember if there's anything like any game breaking bug or blah blah blah. Any reason why you would want to update it? I don't think there is. So don't. The other thing I'll say about that game is that I stopped playing it because I played all of his other games. The reason I stopped playing is because I knew that I wouldn't be able to handle whatever was going to happen to that big dog. And I don't know what has ever happened to that big dog. I've never looked it up. I do one day intend to go back and I'll have to start the game because it's been years since I played it. But it was the AI of the big dog bird griffin thing was kind of shitty and frustrating in a buggy way, not frustrating in like this is a good challenge way.
Yeah,
foreshadowing. It was buggy, and this is buggy, and you probabed should hire more AI people to do this kind of a way.
But you stopped because you just don't.
I stopped because I don't want to see what happens to the dog.
Did you see Old Yeller as a kid?
I did.
Did you stop it?
That dog was a prick. Deserved exactly what he had coming to him. I said, stay inside! And he got out anyway. Exactly what it deserved.
Old Yellow's a prick. Come here for the hot takes. Old Yellow's a prick and states' rights. Yeah. We're bringing the goods.
Yeah, the people are going to come in mass.
Right, and also Hellblade 2.
Yes,
Game
Hellblade
of the
2.
Year for 2024.
So, obviously that's not true. And obviously that game came out and disappointed the living shit out of you.
So the problem here is that, again, while your prediction is only going to be wrong by a little bit, there is no world in which Hellblade 2 is going to get some kind of patch or something like that to make it not the absolute pile of gutter trash that it ultimately turned out to be. And the fact that it won 3 Game Awards to kind of like masks it as a good game.
Yeah.
And some of the most diehard Xbox fans are out there on social media touting it as like, see, we've got great exclusives too, people. Just come to Xbox. And that's where Hellblade 2 is.
That's just not the case.
And the game is just, it's complete and utter garbage. If they would have advertised it as a tech demo, it would have been, hey, let's do 30 more minutes of me talking about Hellblade 2. I have so much to say about this game. How bad it is. So anyway, not only did it not turn out to be the game of the year, if it was a good game, and I was like, okay, it was a little bit of a disappointment.
You could have been like, well, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my game of the year.
Yeah, my personal game of the year, right? And no, instead,
this was like, there's no defending it.
There's not only no defend, but it's like one of those things where I hate to bring this up because it's like I'm giving air to something that should be suffocated to death, but when The Last of Us 2 came out, a lot of people in that community have been looking forward to the game. We're so disappointed by it that they basically turned on the game. And so now...
happens a lot in our little space.
It's so awful. And so now if you go to The Last of Us 2 subreddit, it's just an official like area to hate on the game.
Oh, okay.
And so this is my version of that, except I detest those people. I hate all of them. Last of Us 2 is one of my favorite games ever. But Hellblade 2, the Hellblade 2 subreddit needs to be turned into a... Maybe I'll create the subreddit for hating.
And then it'll go from 6 at the top of the subreddit to 7.
just the worst. So anyway, can't wait to be wrong about my 2025 prediction.
Well, let's do it.
It cannot get worse than 2024.
Yeah. Let's throw out only one each, and then we'll move on to the main topic of the show. You go first, because I like to spring things on you. Yeah. Give me one prediction for 2025.
Well, I should probably play it safe and then just say something like GTA is going to be the game of the year or something like that.
But do you think GTA is actually going to hit it
if it comes out this year?
Yeah.
No,
because that'd be a double prediction. You would be predicting that it is coming, and that
I have no more will to live. The Hellblade 2 thing.
Hellblade 2 just skinned you alive.
I don't want to predict anything. I don't feel good about what we got coming. We got a bunch of games coming out in February, right? Yeah. Monster Hunter's coming out. Civilization's coming out.
Monster Hunter comes out in like the Prince and I were talking about. It was like 3 weeks from now or something like that. 3 or 4 weeks.
Monster Hunter Wilds Game of the Year there.
Okay.
Nominee.
No.
Real brave. Real brave kid.
I got to witness right here with my own eyes those gears turning so fast. Game of the Year nomination. So good. Okay. That is it. It's been cast. I think that is, and I'm obviously saying this because I love Monster Hunter so hard, and I'll predict I'm going to invest triple digits of hours into that game this year. No two ways about it. But yeah, I think a nice, safe, easy to get either semi-correct prediction is a good one. That's a solid one. For me, I will take on that bigger one. I do not think GTA 6 is coming out this year.
Okay.
I think that bad boy is going to slide right on into the next year. I don't want that to happen. I just I am braced for it to happen. Rockstar is right there with Nintendo in terms of they don't give a shit because they know their stuff's going to sell. They can delay. And
they don't need the money.
And to be totally honest, we've talked about this before. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't mind delaying games. Like, I want to play the shit that I want to play, but if the result of your delay is that your game is better, by all means, just go nuts.
And there's plenty of other games to play in the meantime.
Yeah, new and old, so fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think GTA 6 is going to slide right on into 2026.
It is annoying though when the Justice League game, the infamous Rocksteady game, was delayed for a year and came out and was still hot garbage. So
just finished too. They just wrapped up the whole deal on
development on it.
Yep.
So if you are going to delay, at least make your game good. That's good advice. That's free good advice, Cameron.
Yeah. You sign up for this man's newsletter immediately.
That's right. So if you're going to delay, make it a good delay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if a delay I would accept a 50% delay in a game's timeline to get a 20% better game. I mean, the ratios don't even.
I have no problem with that because also, like you, there's no shortage of shit for me to occupy my time when it comes to video games.
Yeah, no, I just curated my Steam wish list and I curated it down to 100 games. Down to 100 games. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Up from what was it before?
180, I think, and I purged.
So you almost got it. Yeah, almost half. Not too shabby.
Yeah, and about half of those are out, and then half of those are coming out. So there's like theoretically 50 games I could play now, but have resisted the urge to buy even during the Steam summer sale.
Yep.
Under the guise that I can finish my actual backlog of games that I own and haven't played, which is different than the games I haven't purchased and want to play.
Yes.
And that backlog is about 70 games. So if you need to delay GTA 6...
At this point, it's like you're begging them.
No,
please delay this game.
Oh, man, this is like... Am I going to admit this on camera? Sure. I literally convince myself... Sometimes it's like, well, look, my youngest son is 5 years old. So by the time that he gets to college, it won't be that. I'll have all the time that I need at that point.
It's right there.
Yeah, I don't need to be a parenting. I'll have all the time to just come back and play the games. I don't need to really work.
You're just going to blackball your own kids.
My wife can. She can work.
Yeah.
It's like, I've worked all this time, and she's been doing nothing.
Yeah. It's called... It's called balanced reciprocity.
Come back. She doesn't watch the show. It's fine.
It'll be just fine. Okay, so
anyway, that's my plan.
Light domestic violence aside, those have been the predictions for 2025. Okay, let's roll into the main topic of the show and discuss difficulty/challenge in video games. So I'll start this volley because it's funny. You and we've talked about many times of your obsessive need for achievements. I definitely also suffered from that sickness. So like I know a little bit about how the completionist stuff and how that feels. And I think completionism is kind of a part of a game's overall challenge because it's not only like how much are you. It's if it's gameplay wise, if it's difficult, that's a part of it or can be a part of it. But it's also like an attrition factor. Like, can you play Donkey Kong 64 and get 100% in the game? No, I cannot do that because that's torture.
Yeah. But is this like 101%? I thought it was like actually over.
DK64 is infamous for being. It's like to get 100% in that game. It's thousands of collectibles because you're playing as multiple different characters, and all these different characters need to just collect. A lot of people love Donkey Kong 64. Firmly, I am not one of those people. I think that game is a low point in Rare's catalog. And I was never, obviously, ever able to do that. But was that because it was hard to do? It kind of was hard to do. It had more to do with the fact that I was bored out of my mind playing this sub-Banjo-Kazooie platformer.
Nintendo doesn't even have an online profile achievement system.
Yeah.
They have achievements.
They were in-game. They were in-game. Yeah.
But so you've got to be the most dedicated person around.
Yeah, because you can't publicly brag about how good you are at Donkey Kong Racing.
What else are we doing this for?
Well, in middle school, for me, it was so that I could lend my copy of Donkey Kong Racing to your brother so that he could see that I got gold.
And I remember doing that with SimCity. And like, Brian, check out this awesome city that I built. And then you gave it right back to me after giving me kudos about my achievement.
And I didn't delete it at all.
Yeah.
I didn't wipe it off the face of the earth.
So that's what you do,
That's what friends do.
That's what friends do.
Yeah, so I think that's a separate discussion about challenge and kind of where my personal stuff is going to shut down. And the older I get, the less of an interest I have in being a full completionist with a game. Now, every once in a while, an Elden Ring will come out, something like that really, really, really hooks me. And then I will give to that game as much as I could possibly do. And Elden Ring is a really good example, though, because it's massive, tons of stuff to go do.
Yeah.
And you can look through that as like a lens of collecting, because you're collecting like the ears of the bosses you've killed or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's an aspect of collecting, and and there's loot and all that other shit in the game too. But then on top of all that stuff, Elden Ring is hard as fuck on purpose. And so all of that together, taken as a whole, that to me is the perfect example of what I want in terms of challenge and the difficulty that does piss me off. It does annoy me, but it doesn't ever make me want to quit it. I mean, yeah, I'll put the thing down, maybe. I did that in some of the older Souls games, but by the time I got to Elden Ring, like I was so invested.
But you know what you're getting.
I knew it, exactly. I know. So like, I am going to lose because like even the best Souls players are going to lose in a new Souls game. That's part of the fun to see how brutally you get smashed down.
Right. That's the Souls-like difference.
Yeah,
it's dying a lot.
Absolutely. But I do think so. Anyway, I'll say that before I turn it over to you. But I think the perfect example of a video game challenge is and I'll go even further in terms of like specific. Is Elden Ring, because Elden Ring did actually dial it back compared to some of the original Demon Souls. If I could throw you under the bus, if you could tell us that real brief story about what happened to you, the prince.
There's not many games that I'm barred from playing in my house.
I love that the wife is making an appearance on the show by proxy
Sooner or later. The wife podcast.
Yeah.
That was a game where I was told by my loving wife that I'm not allowed to play it. I didn't defend myself at all.
It's probably
she was right.
She was right.
Wait, what was it? A particular boss in Demon Souls or the whole thing? And you're talking about the Demon Souls from
PS3, the original.
Okay,
I like to be good at video games, and I'm not. There's a problem, and that game makes you feel real small, and I don't like to feel small.
Yeah, I hear you there, loud and clear.
And so went the trash.
Yeah,
no argument.
And well, you don't have a PS5, so you haven't played the remake then, I guess.
I'm not allowed.
Yeah. That ship is sailed.
It still holds. I can play Elden Ring. That's allowed.
Yeah.
Well, does she know? Does she know enough to know that the Elden Ring people are the Demon Souls people?
She made comments. $200.
She's like, oh no,
you dare.
Yeah, no, I was warned.
We're not going down this road again.
Throw away a digital copy, so good luck.
Yeah, that's true. You can't. And then, but what you do is you just put a big chunk of rawhide in there and just
bite down.
Yeah, just bite down hard on the molars. Yeah, but I think Elden Ring in particular, it's a perfect example of good challenge, because every time you die in that game, it's always my fault. And I can see why, but it keeps coming. Like there's the challenge is persistent, and I really appreciate that, because there is no series in modern video games that makes me feel as good as those games when I do well at them. And I'll say you can draw a straight line from the challenge that was a value-based challenge from our era of growing up with NES games, where these games are so goddamn hard because you spent $90 on this one game, and it needs to last for a calendar year. that line is from those NES games to Elden Ring.
I remember, and you've played this too, obviously, a lot as a kid. A game like Ikari Warriors.
Yeah.
It turns out that without using the code to get infinite lives, I saw maybe 20 to 30% of the content of that game.
Easy.
On my best run ever.
Oh yeah.
And most of the time, you're seeing about 10 to 15% of the content.
That's like almost all of the action games that we grew up playing were like that.
What were the developers thinking? Were they really thinking, like, we got to make sure that these kids don't get through the hours of content?
Yes. Well, because that's the thing, is these games weren't hours of content. If you were like a savant and were really good at video, if you were our mutual friend Jimmy from The Wizard, and you were that good at video,
Jimmy Woods.
Yeah, Jimmy Woods. Thank you for knowing his full Christian name.
Yeah.
If you were like that, then you're spending $60, $70 on 15 minutes. And so, but luckily for the video game industry in the late 80s and early 90s, there's like one Jimmy Woods walking around.
Yeah.
And his name is Billy Mitchell, and he's a hero to all men and women and children. Anyway, that's only slightly true. But that it was a value proposition, because it's like they're competing with kids' time. And at that time, kids' time was very tightly controlled. You had after-school cartoons. Yeah. You had the toy industry, which kind of is for adults now. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like cool toys are for adults only now, which is weird. So you had there was a lot less competition for kids' time, so you had to do something to like grab it. And I think a strategy that developers at the time used to do that was to make their games super duper hard. So you put the time in so you can brag on the playground that you beat Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. Right, that was another one. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden. I got pretty far into that too on One Continue, but never beat it. Those games were just, it was like, what are we doing here?
Well, quick anecdote on that. Friend of the show and YouTube sensation, Jeffrey from Jeffrey's Travels. Look that up. We were in high school together, and one night he came over, and we had this whole plan. We were going to get hammered on Mountain Dew, and we were going to beat the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on my top loader NES. So we started at like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
By like 2 a.m., we're still on Jakio on the first Ninja Gaiden game. That's the boss of the Ninja Gaiden and it's not even the final boss. It's the boss before the final boss.
Yeah.
And that game has a bug, and it's like one of the most mean-spirited bugs that you can think of, because then it's been argued that it's not a bug, that this was that's intentional, but it's not at all. It's come out that nope, we just screwed up. The last level of every level in Ninja Gaiden has multiple checkpoints. So it's a hard-ass game, but at least like if you die at a certain part in World 3, like you have to do the half of the level, not the whole level.
Yeah.
In the final world of Ninja Gaiden, you have to beat the entire level, then Jakio, which you can't beat Jakio because he's super fucking hard, and then the final boss. And if you die anywhere during that time, you go back to the very beginning of that thing. And like it's been argued we did that on purpose. And then it came out later like, no, the programmers screwed up. And as a result, here's this fucking horrifically hard game.
Need some better QA there, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so my views of this, first to go all the way back to the beginning, we talk about completion and stuff. Mostly getting the platinum trophies, some of it is actually pretty difficult. I consider it like a genuine challenge to do some of those things.
It is. For the record, I beat you up on trophies a lot, but it is. Like, that's why they're there.
Some of it is. A lot of it is just, do you have the stamina to go grind your way through again? It's not actually skill-based. It's more the psychology of it. Do you want to play this content again? And sometimes it can, like Astrobot's a good example, but there's others. It can actually be fun because if you can go back, it's almost like playing a New Game Plus, and you have all of your powers. It's an open world, and you're just going back to get collectibles or whatever. The enemies are so trivial at that point. It can be fun going back to areas that you beat, and also it can be fun just being a god amongst normal enemies.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, so that's not so much. I totally agree with you that my ideal idea of challenge is probably something like, in my case, Demon Souls, since I didn't play Elden Ring. Mm-hmm. But that game just, it's worth mentioning again that I never played the Souls-like game before. I was going to get a PS5 because I wanted to get back into consoles. And I really thought Spider-Man Miles Morales was going to be the system seller for me.
Yeah.
Like, well, this will be fun. And then
it's a good game. It's a fine game.
It's a fine game.
Yeah, it's a fine game.
And then you had told me,
what are you doing, clown?
Demon Souls is like the game. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Is that a franchise?
Yeah. Is there walking in the game? Actually, yes. There's a good amount of walking.
Yeah. So I bought it, played it the exact way that you should, at night, headphones, big TV, and when it hooked me, and I just the moment to moment tension as you're going through that game.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And
did it hook you right out of the gate, or were you beaten down by the challenge and difficulty, and then you had to basically like push up against it and push through?
Okay, so since we've opened the store, I'll say it hooked me right away.
Okay,
the atmosphere, the singular guitar strumming, and just like
game fucking rules.
The way that it's presented, I was immediately hooked, and also it's new hardware. I was really excited about that. I was going through and making steady progress, and I quickly figured out, how perilous your life is when you're holding all these souls. I remember having 80 souls and being like, oh my God, if I die, it's over.
It's funny how quick you find out that that's just nothing. Yeah, and then when you lose, this has happened to me. I know it's happened. I think this is why it happened, why you got banned from the game, right? But like you get cocky in a Souls game. And you think you've really figured this thing out.
Yeah.
And you're walking around with like 200,000 souls or whatever the shit is. And a dude from around a corner who you've never seen before jumps out and like just cheats you.
Yeah, you get knocked off the cliff or whatever. So,
and that feeling where you lose all that immediate progress is probably what was going to lead to the prince's divorce.
When I was banned, it was about a 6-hour loss, probably.
Oh, there you go.
I just kept going. Like, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah,
a 6-hour loss and then a fight with your wife.
So I learned
nothing worse.
Just swallowed it all and it spoiled into a mental illness.
Like a fine diamond,
Live to fight another day.
crushed with pressure.
There's never been an episode that is more apt for a show called Midlife Krisis.
Yeah. We're giving the people what they want. This is our hard pivot. Yeah. It's year 2. Let's just go full sad.
All right. So you were saying about states' rights, Brian.
Yeah. We need more of them. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Souls stuff and how for you it instantly hooked you. For me, surprisingly, all the things, like all the atmosphere, all the music, blah, 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 all that stuff did hook me for sure. Because to me, I like the whole Souls series is like a living, breathing death metal album cover. It's the best. But it took like I was following the game before it came out. I was kind of blown away that Sony themselves weren't publishing it in America, and that was going to be Atlas. And I was following the whole story, and I was like, my attention on this game is all the way hooked. I get the game. So here's the thing about me that I'm not shy about, with the exception of like a couple fighting games and like some shmups. I'm not good at video games. I just love them. So like challenge for me is something where it's like, well, I'm not gonna fuck with that. But there was something about this game that made me like just again and again push through again and again and again. And then eventually there was like a downslope on the bell curve where everything just kind of clicked.
Yeah.
And then that has never gone away, fortunately. So when I take that skill set with me to different Souls games, like I can just hang. It's fine. It's good. But it did, like there was a point in time where I was like, and I was genuinely bummed because I was so excited about all of the concepts about this game and I just wasn't good enough to do it. And it pissed me off.
Right.
But I did get there eventually.
All right. So the hook of the game is all the ambience and the graphics and just the presentation of the game is just top notch. I didn't know what the game was. I didn't know what Souls was. I didn't know what a Souls-like was. I didn't know any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to experience that for the first time, I was like, wow, this is like blowing me away. And the real hook was, I had not experienced the game that gives you moment by moment tension where you're literally afraid of going around.
Stakes. Yeah.
And we talk about like horror games. I hate horror games. Hate them. And even the best ones, like Alien Isolation, is in my top 10 games ever. Mm. But it scared the shit out of me.
You don't like the feeling that it makes you...
Yeah, the jump scares and all that. But this was different. This was more like a looming dread as opposed to like a jump scary thing. And so that was kind of a different sensation for me. So I loved it for that because like I'm playing a real artsy game right now. It's called Neva. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. It's made by the developers who made Gris. It looks like basically...
I'm playing the original Manhunt right now. Just to put things into perspective, I'm crushing skulls on Manhunt.
That is such a beautiful comparison because Neva looks like if like the Miyazaki movie was like a video game. Highfalutin, really artsy, beautiful animation.
For the record, I fucking love Miyazaki.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So and the enemies are like ripped straight out of the ghost face or the mask faced enemies from Miyazaki movies.
Spirited Away.
Anyway, one of my complaints about that game, though, is that you have these sections where things happen, and then there's like 15 or 20 seconds of you just running to the next area. Mm-hmm. And that is boring because the game is supposed to be very like artsy, but they don't give you like a run mechanic. Your ability to run is basically you do like a jump roll thing. Mm-hmm. So it kind of takes out your immersion for the game because you're supposed to be sort of beautifully running through these like artistic environments. And I'm just clicking my right trigger to just like do this jump roll
right.
to like more quickly get to the next area. And that's lame. Demon Souls, you would never do that because you're crawling along and you're just so wholly invested.
Well, and that difficulty and that challenge that's famous for, it never leaves you. It's every
level,
every inch you move in that game, it's there.
And the levels are very, very different. So first, the second boss of that game is the big Tower Knight of Demon Souls, Tower Knight. And the gimmick, spoiler alert, I guess.
So I have to cut you off real quick because this is funny. That's not the second boss you're supposed to fight.
Oh, is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to go back to that dude. Well, that's the Demon Souls difference. You can kind of, if you can do whatever you want in that game. The problem is that you can't. So the fact that you're supposed to go to the next world, that mining world, and beat that low-rung boss, and then go back. So what you did is you said, fuck that, I'm going to make it even harder. And I'm going to jump over this boss and go to a harder boss.
It had taken me so long to beat the very first boss of the game, the shield blob.
Yeah.
That
the phalanx.
When I got to the second world, I was expecting it to be as long, and it's a little bit shorter.
It is, yeah.
So I thought, this is the arrogance you were talking about. I'm going to go back and sell all my souls, but there's this cloudy door here. Let me just see what's on the other side of this. And then it's the boss. So I'm going into the boss fight with a whole bunch of souls, and I'm freaking terrified. The gimmick of the fight is you're supposed to beat the ankle of it, and then it falls down, and then you smash its head in. I didn't actually know that. I didn't figure that out at all. So instead, if you can do like chip damage, basically, by just shooting it over and over again. I literally fought this thing for like 45 minutes, just like a singular boss fight.
just shaving away.
I'm just like sweating in my living room, and it's like this exhaustive. It feels like I've run a marathon. Yeah. And then finally at the end, I get him down. I have like a sliver of health, and it's 1 a.m. and I'm in my living room alone, and I'm like, I've done everything I need to do in this world. I beat this guy. I got his souls, plus I still kept my other souls. It was just freaking fantastic. And so that was like the height of it. The next level, though, was the mining one that you talked about, and that has like a fire boss at the end of it. My character was a mage, so huge problem. My number one ability was Fireball, which was, the boss was immune to.
Yes.
I spent probably 4 hours on that, and I just refused to go online because I wanted to play spoiler-free. I will not look up guides. I will not see how somebody else did this. I have to just bash my way through it. And then finally I did. And then that was the high and the low. The high was beating the knight on the first try after close to an hour of playing. And then the low was just smashing your head against the fire guy. And then even when I beat him, I was just like still defeated and exhausted. It's like, oh, it's like the Frodo meme. It's like, it's finally over.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah. So anyway, that's challenge in that game is handled perfectly, because the thing that you had said earlier is that it feels fair. There's no RNG in that game, not really.
Right.
So if you lose, it's just your arrogance or your technique or whatever. It's almost always your fault.
It's player leaning challenge, and that's the challenge I want in video games. Period.
Totally. So my question for you. So my pivot question, sort of, for you is this: what do you think? How does it? Could you do without it, or how do you think about difficulty options in games?
Huge fan, and the reason why is because I'm not good at games, as we said earlier. I just love them, so I want to play a lot of them. And it used to be like I would never play a game when I was younger. I would want to play a game only on normal, because like that was the original vision, right? So that's how I want to play it. Older I get, I don't give up. Fuck, I'm putting that bitch on easy, and I'm gonna play through that game unless it's something like I really, really am interested in and like vested in. But so like a Game Pass game, you're going on easy. All right. That Game Pass game's going on easy.
So when you're presented with options, and the options are hard, normal, and then there might be a side text that says this is how we want you to play the game.
Yeah.
And then there's like story mode. I know you're not picking hard, but are you doing the way they intend you to play, or story mode?
If it's a game I care about, I'm playing it on normal. What I view as like the director's cut of a game. Like this is how I should play it. If it's a game I don't care about, it's going on easy. No questions about it. And you mentioned earlier how like you refuse to use walkthroughs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got rid of that bullshit 20 years ago. If I'm because I play a lot of old, super obtuse, impossible to play video games unless you have resources like that. And I'd fuck it, like because I'm there. A lot of the times I play an older game, I want to experience like why is this revered or why is it not revered, whatever the reasons are. And in order for me to get through that, like I need those tools to be able to do it. And then there's other examples where it's just like, so I'm playing the new Indiana Jones right now, and I fucking love it. We'll talk more about that on a future episode. But you know, look, I'm 40 goddamn years old, right? And it's hard for me to stay up late. I kind of can't do it anymore. So like if I'm looking at the clock and I know that like I got to go to dumbass work tomorrow, but I want to get to another save point or whatever, I am absolutely looking up what I need to do. I'll give it 1 or 2 tries for sure.
Yeah.
But once we start to get into like 3, 4, 5 times on something, I'm not fucking 11 years old. So no, my time is important, and there's no ego there. So I will happily go and look at a walkthrough, get my solution, and move on.
Sidetrack question.
Yes.
Have you looked up the save combinations?
For Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
I've looked up one. Absolutely, I did.
I've looked up every single one. I ain't got time for that. I'll look for 5 minutes.
There was one where I couldn't. I can't remember where. You're in Egypt in the game, right?
Yeah.
I think there was one in Egypt where And that was when I ended up looking up, because like they do a pretty good job in that game of like giving you like a letter or a picture or whatever. It gives you the answer. Or if it's not in the room with the safe, it'll be in the room over or something like that. But there was one in Egypt where like it just couldn't find it at all.
Egypt where it's a whole mission and then you get bamboozled.
That's right. And I think that was the one I ended up looking up too, and that was because, buddy, I got to get to bed here. Come on, we got to move on here.
This is where you two are wrong. What you do is you stay up until 4 a.m.
Okay.
And you figure it out, and then maybe you do have to get up at 8 a.m. for work the next day. And so you got a big court here.
You do not know how important comfort is to me. As I sit wearing basketball shorts as a grown man, comfort is very important to me.
My doctor would agree with your approach. But when I was in the hospital,
negotiating your health,
this was one of the non-negotiable terms.
Yeah. Sorry, doc, I can't do it. I can't.
You want me to stop drinking Dr. Pepper and go to bed earlier, which would mean I'd have to look things up in a guide?
Selfish.
I don't need
that. Doctor's selfish.
Doctor's selfish. Right.
And I have formally made a HIPAA violation request on your behalf.
So typically, there's two reasons I try not to look things up. One is it breaks my immersion in a game like Demon Souls if I have to look up a technique to try to figure out something that like a better way to do it. Two, I play a ton of puzzle games, and then the whole point of the puzzle game is to solve. It's literally a puzzle game. So then it feels like I'm really not doing what the developers want. I really want to play the game as close to the way that the developers want me to play, and then I can judge the shit out of it, good or bad, based on that. I'm not saying I won't do that, and particularly when it's cleanup time and I got to go get a platinum trophy, and if there's collectibles I've missed, I will absolutely look up guides then to just finish everything off. But at least the first playthrough, I try to play it legitimately, and it means that my playthrough times tend to be, this is not an exaggeration, about 50% longer than what's listed on the how long to beat website. I'm just a really slow player compared to that. The times that site is telling me that the game should.
Well, also, I mean, you've got that completionism bug where you've got to do a thing before you move on to a next thing.
Got to explore every nook and cranny. All right.
Yeah.
In terms of difficulty options, I'd ask you the question. If there's a platinum achievement involved and it's a PlayStation game and it's required to play it on the hardest difficulty to get the platinum, which is all the Naughty Dog games, then I have to do that. And it has made my experience with the Naughty Dog games less as a result. I think less of some of those games. Because of that requirement. And Naughty Dog, I hope with this new game that's coming out, is figuring that out because they handle difficulty in the dumbest way possible. It's another part of this I wanted to talk to you about.
Well, it's like the Mortal Kombat approach. If you remember, every Mortal Kombat arcade game, you could like limp through the first 2 fights or so, and then the rest of that game,
it just ramps up.
You could. It's not even fun because the AI is so shitty. And what they viewed at the time as like, no, this is a good challenge, meaning translate like this is a way for us to take more quarters from these suckers.
Yeah.
It would like the AI could like literally, it's AI. It's predicting everything that you're doing, and it has the perfect answer to everything that you were doing. So only the best of the best of the best arcade players could actually sit there and not spend $100 and beat a Mortal Kombat. Anyone can sit there and pump $50 into a machine and beat Mortal Kombat in the arcade.
And it's like we all want a good challenge, but this is why it was great to lead the episode off, or at least the topic off, with Demon Souls, because you feel like it's your fault most of the time when you die. But you never feel that way when you die in a Naughty Dog game at the highest difficulty or in Mortal Kombat. You just feel like the game is being cheap.
Well, it's like when going back to my days of being a completionist pervert, like N64 time, I had GoldenEye, and I was a teenager, had nothing but time. So, of course, I'm going to do 00 Agent on everything. Well, like, the last level, I remember it took me, I don't know, like, fucking, we'll say 5 hours, 6 hours. Who knows? It could have been even longer. But, like, you walk, it's that level where, you're out on that really small catwalk. And then,
the satellite dish.
Yeah. So, on 00 Agent mode, like, you just walk out from where there's coverage in the first thing. There are dudes that are like across the map, and it's an N64 game, so this map isn't gigantic, but still, and they're picking you off.
Yeah, and it's like one shot, one kill,
and they're like literally as far away as possible, and they're just getting like every single shot perfectly. That's not a challenge. That's a game. That's a game cheating. That's a game cheating. Yeah, exactly.
One of the better games I've played in the last 5 years is Cuphead, but there's a little bit of that going on in Cuphead too.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I mean, that's the Cuphead's lineage is obviously fucking arcade and all that stuff.
And it's not as egregious as like those early arcade games, but it does feel as you go on and on and on. It's like, am I losing because I'm not skilled enough, or because you've just kind of changed the terms of the game such that you can lose to what I'll call cheap stuff in the way that you don't early on, and it kind of degrades the experience a little bit.
Yeah.
But because the not Miyazaki games, the Souls-like games, they don't. There's only one difficulty, so everyone's playing the same thing.
Yeah.
And the creator, what is it?
I honestly, ironically, think it's also Miyazaki.
Maybe it is Miyazaki.
I think it is.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, boy, that's good name.
Yeah. Hi, I'm John Disney. I want to make cartoons.
John Disney. That's good. So he's come out and said, I want everybody to have the same experience, so there are no difficulty options in our games, and you're all playing the same thing, good or bad.
Fucking deal with it.
Yeah, and that approach is pretty cool, but it's really only cool because he's also happened to master how to make a game difficult without feeling cheap.
Right.
So I get frustrated sometimes when you're losing and it just feels like, oh well, here's bad RNG, or this is some cheap little gimmick that the character does or whatever. And that can kind of be grating on me. Okay, did you have anything else? Because I got the next pivot.
Well, one thing the last thing I even need to say, so you can ride this home all the way to the barn, but the last thing I want to say about challenge and difficulty in video games is my multi-decade-long love affair with the shmup genre. Shoot 'em ups, if you'd like, vertical, horizontal shooters. That's where I am the grossest.
I know why.
I don't know. I don't know.
I hate difficulty, except in the games that are most notorious for being difficult.
So I started, like anyone else, I started playing those games, going to Pizza Hut, seeing a raid machine, just like any one of us good little boys. But for me in college, it's when a sicko switch went off. Like I got Ikaruga for GameCube.
That's what I was thinking.
Which is now
that game.
It's a top 3 favorite video game of all time for me, easily. And then I visited Japan for the first time and got to go to real arcades where like there's like salarymen that are just sitting there with like 7 cigarettes in their mouth and they're sitting there playing Darius. I got to see that with my own eyes. It was really cool.
Dude, you and I played Darius out here.
Oh yeah, Burst.
Yeah,
round 1.
Yeah, that was great.
This was the original Darius, and the guy who was playing it like probably had more money than you and I both combined. He just looked like one of those fellas. Had a bunch of gold jewelry on and fucking chain smoking playing Darius. 1987's Darius.
This is what I do.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Please don't murder me, sir. But that genre, there's something about it where like, number one, the gameplay clicks with me. It is pure gameplay. That's why I think I gravitated towards it so much. Like there is story, but it's such window dressing that it doesn't matter. Like, and I also like to play games in like quick bursts and like fighting games and shooters. If I have like 15 minutes to spend, I'll put it on one of those and come back feeling refreshed and satisfied. But I got into what's known as the Danmaku genre or bullet hell back on Xbox 360. What had happened was I learned about all these games from a company called Cave at that time. We're talking like 2005, 6, 7, something like that. And I was a fan of that company's games when they were called Toplan. I had no idea that was still a thing, and then they turned it into this company called Cave. And they make games like Dodonpachi. I'm going to say a bunch of Japanese words, and you'll blink. But there's Dodonpachi, there's mini versions of that game, there's Espegaluda, there's all this stuff. And what's famous about a Cave game is that you have a ship or a character or whatever, and you see the hitbox. The hitbox will be like this glowing little grouping of tiny little pixels. It's a small hitbox. And that's good because the waves of bullets coming at you is like unlike anything you've ever seen. It's just beautiful patterns of bullets coming nonstop, tens of thousands of bullets. And because you have this small little hitbox, like you can weave in between them. And so it's like a shooter game that's like dialed up all the way to 11 and then ass rigged with a bunch of steroids. And it's fantastic. And just like the Souls games, when I do good at those games, and I have recorded evidence of me doing good I have a lot of recorded evidence of me doing good at those games. The feeling that I get of like, I can't believe I just fucking did that. Especially when to get good at a shooter, like Icarus is a perfect example. It took me weeks to get past the first level of that game, because the way it was designed, to unlock more credits, you had to sit there and play the game, and every hour of gameplay, you got another credit. And eventually, you can unlock free play. So, real quick anecdote, and then I'm going to turn it to your pivot point. There's a shooter called Border Down for the Dreamcast. It's the last official Dreamcast released in the world. There was more Dreamcast, certainly more Dreamcast games that came out, but this was like 2003, the last Sega licensed the whole thing. And actually, I think I might be 2007's Trigger Heart Excelica. So I do apologize.
I mean, as well you should.
I am so sorry. Anyway, that game, I beat it without needing free play unlocked. And I have that game save. This is not an exaggeration. I have it backed up on 10 Dreamcast VMUs. So just in case, I can, if I lose one, I can put another one in and be like, see, I beat this game, and that doesn't say free play.
So if there's a fire in your house, and then you go somewhere, and there's a flood, and then you go somewhere else, and there's a tornado, you still have 7.
And one of my VMUs has the ability to back up on PC. So I have also that saved on hard drives as well.
Yeah,
it's not going to lose my sight, because I'm very proud of it. So anyway,
that's great.
There's something, a ninny, which I will call myself a video game ninny. It is kind of weird that I love those games so much. But hey, we all have broken brains in our own way.
No. No, Brian.
No.
We're normal.
All right, Shooter. Wind us down. What's this final pivot on challenge and difficulty?
I really just wanted to ask you what your hardest game you've ever played is.
Hardest? Do you want to go like overall of all time hardest game? And because I think you got to put some qualifiers on this. Is it hard because the game is a piece of shit that can't be beaten?
That's, of course, that'd be yours.
Or is it a hard...
playing some broken game that just barely works?
Well, yeah, no, like I have done that, and we'll do it again.
What was that we did the Let's Play of the fighting game where you're like there's like a Nancy Kerrigan character?
Oh, Tattoo Assassins.
Yeah.
That game is perfect. That game has poopalities. Yeah. You bet.
So that's like a version of a hard game where the game is literally broken in places.
The game was so broken that it was never officially released. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll say I do think you need to make a qualifier there. A game, if you can't beat it because there's a game-breaking bug, that's not a thing. But
it's the hardest game you've ever finished. I guess that could be a thing.
But then there's the attrition factor. Did I beat this game? In spite of it, like that happens to me very, very rarely, because I will proudly give up on a game if I don't like it. But it has happened.
Was it the 2003 Ninja Gaiden? That's often referred to as one of the hardest games ever.
Okay, that's it. I think that's probably it, actually. Because it's not, or maybe I would say that game or the original PS3 Demon's Souls, maybe.
Okay.
Because the original PS3 Demon's Souls was super duper hard, but it's that challenge that we've been talking about, where it's very much like my fault kind of a challenge.
But it's also new at the time. You didn't know what a Souls game was.
Right.
So, you're throwing yourself into it not knowing this is like what to expect.
You don't, when you first start playing that game, like even I knew what to expect because I was following the game's coverage, but it doesn't prepare you.
It does not prepare you.
No, when you're playing the game and you see a red phantom come and you're level 98 and that red phantom kills you in your game, and you know that red phantom is another player. And now my level 98 goes to level 97, which is like 30 hours of work
to get to 98.
That's the one thing they took out of the remake of Demon's Souls, is that ability where no, you can go and fuck with people. That's still there.
But you can't cost them a level.
But the stakes they were so one-sided in the original, where it was like, it just encouraged you to go be a shithead.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, nothing's going to happen to you. No. You'll go back to your world. Nothing's going to happen to your level. Just the player's level. That's going to get fucked with. And that's obviously what encouraged me to do that a lot. And the times I was successful, it felt really good. I knew I was stealing time like a vampire from someone else.
You've ruined somebody else's day.
But yeah, I would say the hardest game I ever beat ever. I probably would say 2003 Ninja Gaiden, because fuck, that game was so.
But you did beat that.
I did beat it. Absolutely, I beat that game. But again, I was I think 19 or 20 years old in college, had a lot of time, Had a lot of time to go ahead and go for that, and I chose to go for that. And it's a great game. Like, I love Ninja Gaiden. And I think that's another example of a game that, like, when you lose, it's because you aren't playing it well enough. It's not the game's fault.
All right. My answer would probably be, well, first of all, my answer is significantly less satisfying than your answer. I would say probably Uncharted 4 on the hardest difficulty. That's in terms of just dying. Oh, and I don't think we've mentioned this on the show, but when I played the Uncharted games, it shows at the end of the game, it shows your stats compared to your friends who've also played the games. Yeah. So I got to directly compare my stats to yours.
That was great.
And it was like
died 12 times.
Yeah, it was like that. You died like 12 times. I died like over 1,000 times. Over 1,000 times, just smashing your head. And it's really like there's 5 areas in the game where there are really difficult gun battles.
Oh yeah.
And then they just make the enemies bullet sponges, and you just become this like piece of glass. And
it's genuinely not fun.
So it's because some people were hyping me up for that, like, oh, Uncharted 4 is the best Uncharted. And I was like, well, the Last of Us games were great, so this also is going to be great. And then I played it, and I was like, Uncharted 4 is just not a good game. Just not very good at all. And it's not that. It's just that by the time I got to the end of it, again, you're just like so exhausted. Yeah. You're like, okay, fine, it's over. Great. I see the credits now.
It's like now this thing is going to stop
happening
to me.
Dumb game. I'm going to go to play something else. Yeah. So that'd probably be the answer for me, but it's not nearly as satisfying an answer as what your answer is. And then after that, I would say Demon Souls, which is a great answer because that was a really, really fun challenge. I really loved playing through that game and actually dealing with the difficulty of it. So.
Well, last thing I want to talk about here before we sign off, and I'll go first. The question is, how important is challenge to you in a video game overall, not just in specific genres? But so for me, I would say if a game is too easy, I'm gonna probably tune out unless the game is Pain for PlayStation 3. If it's a game like that where it's like it really isn't about challenge, it's about just kind of having fun and being a dickhead. You can make challenge in a game like Pain all day long because it has fucking trophies and all these other arbiters of achievement to get towards. But if I want to grab an old lady and then flip and then throw that old lady through a glass window, I'm going to do that 30 times in a row and have the time of my life. But if a game isn't as incredibly geniusly designed as Pain and it's just too easy, it's boring. I prefer too hard over too easy all the time.
God, man, this is such a weird episode for us because I think I'm the opposite. I think despite all that, or maybe because of how I've had to throw myself into brick walls over and over again.
Had to. Like this isn't a choice.
It's not a choice.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Drug addicts can go to rehab, Uncle Bob. You can make the choice to better your life. Oh yeah.
My life is better.
Because of all the trophies?
Yeah.
Well, then the argument's over.
Damn it. What are we talking about here?
Fair enough.
It's objectively better. Just look at my profile.
Are you saying your life's better than his? My life is better than yours.
My friend, you got this all wrong. My life is substantially better than yours. Let me show you on my PlayStation profile.
I got 6 this year.
I think I have 6 total.
Yeah. All right. So it matters probably not at all to me, a challenge, even in games where there's supposed to be a challenge. But I guess I would say that to the extent that I would care, it probably would be genre specific. If I'm playing a puzzle game and there's no challenge there, I probably by the end of it I will think like, what are we doing here? You give a puzzle game, and the whole point is that the puzzles need to be clever, so you feel you get a little dopamine.
So kind of like Hellblade 2 or Hellblade 1 for that matter, where the puzzles are literally look in a certain direction and make the letter A appear. So yes.
That game was very unsatisfying, sure, and not much of a challenge except for the ridiculously repetitive 1v1 combat scenes where you have a two button fighting combo and only a single weapon, and you just do that over and over again. So yeah, I guess that's a good example of there not being a challenge. No, I really only care about challenge to the extent that it's tied to trophies. Other than that, if you're telling me as a developer that this is the way you intended the game to be played, fine. I will play it the way that you're telling me you intended it to be played, but I don't really care. I will judge your game on what you present to me. And then if you're telling me that to get a platinum, I've got to play it on the hardest difficulty, then I'll show you. I will play it on the hardest difficulty and then not like it. And then you'll know that I don't like
you're the
game.
winner. You definitely know.
Yeah. So who's the dummy now?
Take that, naughty dog.
Yeah.
You dicks.
Dicks.
Go back to putting boobs in Genesis games.
What do you know about making video games, naughty dog?
Clowns. Wait, they made Crash Bandicoot, though.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay, they know what they're doing.
Oh, and this is, I was trying to do this over Christmas break, but this is, man, talk about a sickness. When we very first got the PlayStation 5, I had to go to work. Okay. My enterprising son, who is in the studio right now playing.
In the next room over.
Yeah. He got a hold of the PS5 before I could play it. And he downloaded Crash Bandicoot and played it just enough to get a single bronze trophy.
That's fantastic.
So if you scroll on my trophy in my profile, there's all these platinums, and then there's this Crash Bandicoot crap at the bottom with one trophy sticking out like a disgusting sore thumb.
There's only one remedy for that.
And so that's what I had planned to do during Christmas break, was go back and play Crash Bandicoot.
To right the wrong.
Except that I looked it up online, and it turns out it's like a super difficult platinum to get because it's a Naughty Dog game, and it's a really old one before people had figured out trophies. So now I'm having kind of second thoughts about it. I'm playing these other games like, oh, I don't know. But every freaking time I look at my profile, I see that. It makes me want to yell at my son. It's like, how could you do that to me?
Or try this on, buy another PlayStation and start from scratch. And they'll be all your platinums.
I have to change accounts because it's tied to my account. Okay. You didn't think ahead, bro. I've thought about all the options.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
And you're contacting Sony to have them
delete
it.
Yeah. I wish you could. If you play a game but you don't get a trophy, you can delete that game from your profile, which I've done several times.
Yeah.
But that's
so cool. Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, and Brian, this is okay. I know we're trying to wrap up, but like sometimes I'll play a game, and if I think I'm not liking it, I'll stop playing it immediately and not play it anymore because I don't want to get one trophy. Because once you get one, then you're in. You got to get all the rest of them.
You sound so sick.
We should get through the therapy. That's a problem.
Yeah. The minute that you get one, you're all in. And that's why he got this Crash Bandicoot trophy. And then I have to go back and play Crash Bandicoot. I have no interest in playing that game right. I'm going to have to play it at some point.
So in theory, if they had trophies and demos, and you got a trophy and demo, you're on the hook.
That's how we sell you games.
Oh, man.
Well, but I think the demo games, they show up in your games list forever. You can hide it, but if you download a demo, it's like there.
Yeah, I think so.
I hate that.
It is kind of, and then you have examples like PT, where like if I have a PlayStation 4 that has PT installed on it, I could sell it for $1,200 right now to some creep.
Mutual friend Pierre has one. He was talking about letting me borrow it before I had a PS5.
Yeah.
And he gave me all these warnings about like, if I give this to you, don't you dare do anything other than play the game on it. And I need it back in a week because there's PT on it. And I was like, what the hell is that? Who cares? It's a PlayStation. It's $300, $400, whatever. And I guess having that makes it a big deal because it's such a rare thing.
Yeah, well, I wonder if it's, now that they have made a new Silent Hill, a new product that says Silent Hill, it's a remake of Part 2. I do wonder if people care less about that. I would doubt it, though, because that PT thing is very...
Well, and that was Kojima, right?
That's why it's special. So it's Kojima and then the Silent Hill team working together.
And he's as big a deal as
And Guillermo del Toro was also worked on that as well.
Okay.
And the idea was that PT was going to be a full game. It was Silent Hill, and it was Kojima and Guillermo. Why can't I say his fucking name? Guillermo del Toro. And then, anyway, it didn't happen, and Konami got rid of Kojima, and now people are buying PS4s with a fucking demo on them for $1,500.
Are there trophies in that?
No.
Okay. I don't need
Damn it, I just lost the sale.
I don't need it.
Oh, yeah, there's a trophy.
I don't need that in my life.
Always lie.
Yeah, damn it.
Always be lying.
I don't sit under your learning tree enough.
Always be lying.
Always be lying. Hey, BL dog. All right, that's gonna do it on this one. This chat. This not at all challenging chat about challenge.
Yeah.
I think it's a part of it's a you gotta love it. You love to hate it when one of those deals. Like it's a part of video games because why else? I mean, well, Pong. I mean, you have to play with two people, so there you go. But then AI and Pong, there's your challenge.
I will say that in recent years, I've moved away from like PvP games specifically for that exact reason. You just end up feeling bad more than you feel good playing those games. So if not for this little trophy thing, then I think I would probably do what you do.
Just this light psychological addiction that you have.
just some light mental illness I'm dealing with.
Does, not what everybody else does.
What do you want? All right. Well, that'll do it. That's going to do us here on this fine installment of Midlife Krisis. I will say we're on Spotify. Caught up, by the way. Now the episodes that come out here on the YouTube, not day and date, but they're, it's close enough.
Day-ish.
Day-ish. So that's nice. That's a thing. Give us a 5-star review if you would. It does help. Like and subscribe here. All that good shit. We're coming back with more fine stuff in the year of our Lord 2025.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say?
Look forward in 2025 to more talk about Hellblade.
Definitely.
More talk about trophies. And that's all.
And that's it. That's all we're going to do.
About.
And also states' rights, obviously.
States' rights.
You had that ready to go. Very good. Well, let's do a challenging gentleman's handshake. Here we go. Stupid.